Hey guys, today we're continuing our kitchen basic series with pantry staples. It's a big one, it's a long one, but it's going to be a good one because it's going to cover so many bases in unlocking your kitchen confidence. We want to hear all your questions. So you can now leave us voice messages, which I am so excited about. I want to hear from each and every one of you at podinbox.com/food FAQ podcast. You'll find a link in the show notes, and we can't wait to hear from you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our fourth episode of Food FAQ. Today, we're going to continue our kitchen basic series, and we're going to talk about dry pantry staples, things that you keep in your cabinets that help you put meals together quickly. How you doing, Eric?
I'm good. How you doing, Marty?
Good. I'm excited about this one because I can make a mean pantry dinner if I need to,
There's a lot you can do with it.
right?
I think that's the purpose of it. There's a lot you can do with this, and just with a couple basic ingredients.
And they keep a long time, which is
Right.
also essential if you
Right.
want to be ready at the ready anytime. So
Exactly.
we're going to talk about a few things like actually today I cleaned out my pantry because I don't know about you, but mine gets in like disarray very easily.
Yes.
Yeah, right? And I
Yeah.
can't find the things, and then I always like to have all the beans together and look at them, even if it only lasts like a week.
Right.
It's my thing. Anyhow, so I also took inventory of the things that I keep on the regular,
Right.
and one of them is rice.
Yes.
Do you keep rice?
Okay. So here's the thing. So my mother made rice every single meal growing up.
It's
So
inexpensive.
I'm sure you felt that, every single meal growing up. So for the longest time, I did not keep rice in my pantry, but for the past couple of years, not necessarily homesick, but food homesick, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
And so I just started keeping rice in my pantry. And there's like a bunch of like great ways to make it. What's your favorite way to make it?
Okay, so my favorite way, which by the way, this does not come easily to me. It took many years of housewifery for me to like conjure up my favorite way to make rice. And this is the way I do it. I get a pan, a pot, right? Like a pasta pot, and I put a fat tablespoon of butter in it. I put it over like medium high heat. I let it melt. I get 1 cup of dry rice. I pop it in there. I toast it for a quick second, add my salt, healthy amount of salt. Rice needs salt more than you think. Good fat pinch. Then I add a cup and a half of water. I wait for it to bubble over. I cover it, put the temperature down to low, like on 3, and then I put a timer on for 12 minutes. When that dings, I take it off the heat for 10 minutes. I don't touch it, I don't open it, and then I fluff it with a rice, and it's perfect. I mean, with a fork, and it's perfect every time. What do you do?
Did you say good fat pinch or good fat? I'm like, all right, that's what we're gonna go there tonight.
Good, good fat pinch of
Good
salt
fat pinch of salt.
with a
Okay.
P,
Thank
right?
you for clarifying for everybody.
You're
So,
welcome.
all right. So mine's a little bit different. So first thing I do, well, actually, I had a question for you, and
Yeah.
be honest with this question.
Hmm.
Okay, do you wash your rice?
No.
Okay,
I
neither do
mean, no, I
I. I
don't.
don't.
Yeah,
No. I don't think my mother ever washed it. Sometimes I believe when people say that, oh, they've always washed their rice, they're lying.
I
That's not
agree.
true. They're
It's
lying.
like, come on, come on.
I've never washed it. Abba, my grandmother never washed it either, so I assume it's okay.
I mean,
Anyways,
we made
so
it this far.
we made it this far. So, all right. So what I do is just simple. It's 1 cup rice to 2 cups of liquid. And I do like to use chicken broth when I
Mm,
make my rice. If I don't have chicken broth, just 2 cups water, throw like 2 bouillon cubes in there.
hmm.
And then like quite a bit of butter. So it's not great. It's like a half a stick of butter, but it's really good.
Dang,
I know I'm
commitment.
living on the wild side. But apparently my mother's always done that. And I learned it. So this explains a lot. So I go ahead and I bring it to a boil and let it boil for 1 minute. And then I go ahead, put the lid on it, stir it so it doesn't get sticky at the bottom, put the lid on it and crank it down to as low as possible that you can do.
Mhm.
Set a time for 20 minutes. And then when it's done, take the lid off and use a fork and just fluff it up.
Okay.
That's how I make it.
And what's your favorite type of rice to buy?
I really like basmati rice.
Oh my
Just I like
God.
the texture of
We
it.
are soul children. I love you. Yes. And jasmine sucks. And I don't care what anybody tells me. It is
I'm
a
not a
bad.
big jasmine rice person. Like, no, like I want the basmati rice, you know? And
Mhm.
so,
It's long and it smells good. It's like a man that you love.
wow, that housewifery really.
Well, you get good at it with time. All right. So, what do you add to your rice? Okay, personally, right, I make food for every day. So I have to like spice these things up, and rice is cheap and it's a good side dish. So I add things to it to like keep it spicy. Do you do this?
I do. So I can't eat rice by itself. All right. So I can go the traditional way, but we'll talk about it in a minute because I do use a lot of black beans with my rice. Okay. But there are just something really simple things I do. And I can tell you the all right, so I'll tell you the secret of the one that I don't tell many people,
Mm,
but I've served it before and it really works. And just don't tell anybody you do it. But when you're done making the rice, if you want to spice it up, I swear, just like throw a can of salsa in there and mix it, and like
yum.
it completely seasons it.
Uh-huh.
And
The whole thing?
well, I mean, it depends how much rice you're making. But
Okay,
so
so like a cup of rice, you would add what?
like a half a can, half a jar.
That sounds
You know,
good.
it's like not like a lot. It's just to kind of just give it some flavor. But if you want to know my favorite way to eat rice, it's just with the white rice, and I like to cut up like purple onions and avocado.
That sounds good.
It is really good. And again, that's like getting back to my roots. So that's like the
Which
whole
which
rice thing
are
is
what are
really.
your roots? We've never discussed this
We
before.
never discussed it. So I was, born and raised in Miami,
Hmm.
and I come from an Anglo father, but a Cuban mother. And so I'm first generation American on my mother's side. And since she did all the cooking, my father was a commercial pilot, so he was gone a lot. So since she did all the cooking, um, it's more of the Cuban food that is, that makes me feel at home,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm a first generation Cuban as well by way of Puerto Rico. And yeah, so I also unfortunately don't cook Cuban food so well. There's like a weird like it doesn't ever taste the same as my mom's.
It's never going to.
So I kind of like I have a bit of a resistance to it. But I definitely make lots of rice. And to that rice, I add things like lentils. Say you have like a can of lentils, I'll add it to the rice. I'll add the chicken bouillon, maybe a little tomato, and then I'll let it all cook together. I make lentil rice. Boom. And then I'll add a can of bean to it and maybe a little bit of bacon to give it a
Right.
seasoning. And it's what is that called? The black beans with rice? Congri.
Pretty.
I'll do that. You can really add any bean to it, to rice before you cook it, like in the water, and then
Right.
add seasoning to it, and it transforms it into a side dish that is
Yeah.
different than just plain rice. And what else
You know,
can
we
we do
talked
with
about
it?
earlier. I like putting chorizo in the rice, but I like to make the rice yellow when I do that. So if you use like a packet to make the rice yellow, I like to make the rice yellow and you throw chorizo in there. And
What's your
that
favorite way to make rice yellow?
okay. So I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, like you could just buy the yellow box of yellow rice and you can do that
Hmm.
because I don't have where I'm at, I don't always have access to the stuff to make the rice yellow. Okay. But you can use Be Whole, which is I still use it. And for everybody else, it's Bijol, Bijol. Okay. And if you use that and you just put a little bit in there, and as you're boiling the rice, and you make that yellow rice. But so yellow rice with the chorizo is actually really good. And that's like a one pot meal too.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And on beans, our next pantry staple are black beans. So, like I mentioned, I cook it in rice, but I also sub it for meat in a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
mainly Mexican food.
Yeah.
Do you do that too? You know what I like to do? I put a piece of bacon in there and I'll put cumin, garlic powder, all the powders, right? If I don't feel like cooking. And
Right.
then I'll let it get warmed up and then I'll smash it with a fork. And then it'll be like refried beans and I can put that inside a taco. I can put it over nachos,
Right.
anything that you would use meat in. I would do it with the black beans and it saves you money and time. You don't have to thaw it out. It's just at the ready for
I'm
you.
gonna tell you the best secret to black beans.
Tell me.
Okay, so first of all, my mother taught me this one. There's two. So my mother taught me this one a long time ago because I don't have time to soak beans for 24 hours. So my beans tend to be canned.
Mine
Okay.
too.
So when I do open canned beans, I actually rinse them. Like I leave like a little bit of liquid on them, but I rinse them. And I do that just because of like salt reasons. So I do rinse them. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you a little secret. So first of all, when you get the beans heated up in your pan, I actually learned you season the beans last before you serve it.
Wait a
So
minute.
yeah,
Nothing? Not even garlic powder?
you season it all last.
No, I
So
didn't know that.
you make like kind of like your own like type of sofrito. Like you know, like in another pan, you can go ahead, you put olive oil, you can put garlic, salt, pepper, you could run a bay leaf in there. You know, anything that you're really gonna season with and get that all heated up. So you kind of just like infuse the oil. And then when the beans are done, you pour it over and then mix it all in together.
Shh,
Yeah, I know.
that's smart.
Hmm. And so the thing is, and so my mother taught me that a long time ago. My grandmother taught her that. So
Hmm.
that's how Abba used to make her beans.
Oh.
Um, the other thing I'm going to tell you, which is really amazing, and try it, like don't knock it, is like when you're making the beans, add a cap full of like white vinegar in there.
Yes, that's the
Yeah, and
only
it gives
way.
just kind of like a little like tanginess to it.
That
And
is
it elevates it, even if you're only just seasoning it with salt, pepper, garlic powder, nothing else. You're not doing the way that Eric said it a moment ago. You're just throwing it on there. You got to get it on the table. Just a capful of white vinegar and
changes it.
changes it. And I'm sure you can use apple cider vinegar. I'm sure you can use rice wine vinegar, like whatever you have in your home. But I use white vinegar and just a capful. And
Yes.
when it's done, take it off the heat and just put a capful in there. And
Another secret to black beanery
tell me,
is take, let's say you're using 1 can, you take half of the beans out and you smash them, and then you add them back in, and it makes them like thick, like
oh, yeah,
grandma.
yep,
That's
yep,
another good way to make it taste homemade or what's homemade for us, right?
yeah.
And you can make soup with black beans, which is something boring and bland, but if you want to do that, that's fine. I never eat black bean soup. To me, it's like rice and beans or congri, but I never eat black bean soup. Is that something you eat?
Right. I don't eat black bean soup. I don't think I've ever ordered a black bean soup. But I will
Right?
say, hold on, but I'm gonna say something. I didn't appreciate soup until I moved to cold weather climates. Then I
Oh,
started appreciating soup. But black bean soup, I feel is like a waste of a black bean.
I agree. It
I
needs
want
a
the black bean to
job.
be kind of thick and
Yeah.
like on top of the rice and things like that. And that's how I want it to be. But and the whole thing about you, by the way, mushing up the rice a little, the beans a bit, that is a great trick to get like a slurry of beans, like a thick like black beans, like whether you're eating it on rice or not. And I can eat black beans by themselves too if they're
Right.
cooked.
Because for us, black beans are like a stew almost, right?
Yeah,
They're not just like this
mhm.
watery thing. Like we add
It's thick,
potatoes and meat and
right?
chorizo. And so that's what our point of reference is, right? It's kind of like, it's not a stew. It's like a thick, almost like split pea soup, right? That would be a comparison that people can understand.
Really thick.
Right. Yum. Another thing I mentioned to Eric, and he brought up the good point that it may not be common in every household, are chickpeas or garbanzo beans. Not everyone may have them on hand.
Right.
I do because I add them to my rice. I'll make hummus with them. I will fry them up, sliced with some chorizo, Spanish dry cured chorizo. They're small. They're not in the cold. They're kind of like a pantry item that you can also buy if you're feeling adventurous. And if they carry it where you're at, you slice it up with some olive oil and you add the chickpeas in there and you throw that over rice. And it's like this pink color. The olive oil is this pink color from like the chorizo sweating out. It's divine. And what else can you do with a garbanzo bean, Key? What do you do with them?
You know what I like about garbanzo beans? So you could take the garbanzo beans, just dry them when they're out of the can. And like you had mentioned, you can air fry them. I do like to put them in a little bit of like extra virgin olive oil and paprika, Mariela.
Mm,
And you can put it with some of your smoked paprika.
smoked. I was gonna say.
Everybody will know if they listen to the other episodes, smoked paprika. Um, and you can get them like kind of nice and crispy, and you can season them up. And so it's actually a really, really much like think of like almost like when you're eating like cashews or peanuts or something like that.
Hmm.
It's like a really much lower calorie. way to eat it. And, I think of peanuts are like $6, $7. A can of garbanzo beans you get for 99 cents. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a really easy snack. I know you made something special with garbanzo beans recently. What was
I
that all?
did. I went to the public library and I started looking at cookbooks and I found it, I think it was an Israeli cookbook where they make brittle with the the chickpeas after you air fry them. And you make kind of like the candy part is brown sugar and butter. I'm missing one thing. I'll have to look up the recipe again. And you melt it all together, and then you lay out the chickpeas after they've been air fried, and you put the candy stuff on top, and you let it sit, and it becomes a brittle, and it's really good. The kids ate it right up. They actually loved it. So I think they're super versatile, and if you don't have them in your house, consider it because you can really mix things up for dinner without a lot of effort. All you have to do is open a can and drain it, and you can give your food new life
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
Although for hummus, you do need a few more ingredients, but it's worth your while. It's so much less expensive,
Yeah. It is. Hummus is a lot better when it's homemade.
right? And it doesn't last as long, but
But it's
yummy.
also not hard to make. I mean, you're just getting chickpeas, you're getting tahini, which is the sesame seed paste, and olive oil, salt, garlic. At that point, you could just basically flavor it up as much as you want.
However you want.
Yeah.
All right. How about canned vegetables? That's another one we talked about.
Okay.
Tell me.
All right, Mariela's.
Tell
Mariela's. So I'm not a huge canned vegetable person.
me. Ditto.
I prefer frozen vegetables.
Me too.
Still have a really good shelf life, but when you make them, they still taste crunchy. They taste much, much better. Okay, but to stick with the topic on hand. So you mentioned this earlier when you and I were chatting. I do keep canned corn just because I believe that it doesn't taste bad. It tastes good.
It
And
tastes good, and you don't have to thaw it out.
exactly. And okay, well, we do have microwaves too, Mariella.
What's that?
Anyways, so hold on, guys, we can't eat corn. I gotta thaw it out all day.
But still, it's a step you don't want to take all the time. If you're making nachos, you want to thaw out corn. Who wants hot corn on their nachos? Not I.
Everything else is gonna be hot on the nacho
Shut
anyways.
up.
Keep that corn cold. Take my nachos back. um, so, all right. So canned veggies. I'm not the biggest huge fan of canned veggies, but okay, corn is one. The other one are canned tomatoes. And that is because you can make really quick sauces with your canned tomatoes. So whole tomatoes in a can, and you keep crushed tomatoes in a can and tomato paste.
Hmm.
And I can tell you why I keep tomato paste.
Why?
So this weekend, I decided to make a sauce.
Hmm.
I had time. So I made a sauce, took a couple hours to make. The sauce, I had put heavy cream in it,
Mm,
and I put a little bit too much.
really?
And by putting some tomato paste, I was able to kind of like thicken it back up a little bit and bring back some of the acidity that too much of it took away.
How
Too
much
much.
cream did you put in it?
I probably accidentally put like a cup. I wasn't paying
I bet
attention.
it was kind of good though, like a vodka sauce almost.
When I was making it, it looked like a vodka sauce, and I thought about that. It did look
Mm.
like a vodka sauce. I did have vodka, but that's like a whole other But so, but yeah, so I did use that. So those are actually my staples. I do keep canned corn and I do keep canned tomatoes in my pantry.
Me too. And also one thing that I do if I have a recipe that I'm using tomatoes for and I sometimes I buy the can and it's too big. You know when you order it and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know, ounces. What are ounces? And you order like 100 ounces of tomatoes and then you have left over. I will get it and I will freeze it. I put it in a little baggie and I freeze it and I label it and I put it in the freezer and then I have tomato for next time. So you don't have to throw it away. I don't know if
Right.
you do. Do you throw it away?
I don't
Or
throw
do you?
anything.
I love my freezer and I utilize it to save me money and also time.
Yep, I don't throw anything away, especially when it comes to things like vegetables and stuff like that. That when you buy something fresh and it does have a shelf life, or you open a can and now it does have a shelf life. No, I freeze everything. I don't believe in wasting food.
And does it matter what kind of tomato you buy? We've heard about
Okay,
San
no, all right.
Marzano.
All right, let's talk about San Marzano tomatoes. Delicious.
I don't
Um,
even know, are they?
I'm gonna be honest, I just bought them out of habit, but at the end of the day, it's a canned tomato.
Tomato.
So
Yeah, I
it's
don't care.
canning. Like if I was like in the fields of Italy picking fresh tomatoes to make someone's sauce, and all right, cool, San Marzano all the way. But you know, going to a grocery store in Washington, D.C., I'm not going to, go through and find the exact ones. So no, I do not pick if it's San Marzano or not. And let me tell you, with the name San Marzano, you'll pay like a couple bucks more
Yeah,
just for canned tomatoes. And no, and I made a tomato-based sauce. That's the sauce I was making. And no, I didn't use San Marzano. I just
right.
used whatever was on sale.
I've also seen like reports that they claim it's San Marzano, but they're not.
I was gonna bring that up. I wasted 7 minutes of my life on
I
YouTube the
love
other
you.
day.
This is why we love each other.
Yeah, because it's like just get to the
Tomato
point,
basics.
y'all. It's like the basics of canned tomatoes. And they went the whole thing of how it was,
It's
oh,
bull
this
crap.
is not San Marzano and this is fake San Marzano. And just like honest to God, I buy the crushed tomatoes or the whole tomatoes that are on sale.
I'll buy them at
That's
Aldi for 75 cents, y'all, and
I
it
think
comes
I
out
bought them.
delish.
Yeah, I think I bought mine at Lidl for like a buck, like 29, like if that. Like it was cheap. I literally went and saw just which cheapest one was and just got them. And that
Okay,
was it.
so price is not the problem. It's what you do with it. This is like really the core of what we're saying, and the message that we're trying to convey is that it's not like you don't have to have very many fancy things to make something good, delicious, effective, right? That feeds your family. Enough
Exactly.
about those, right? Canned vegetables. My next favorite pantry item is peanut butter.
I love peanut butter.
Me too.
I cannot have peanut butter because my boyfriend Ryan is deadly allergic to peanuts.
Yes.
And so I can no longer keep peanut butter in my home,
Oh.
but I love I love peanut butter.
For the record, I love Ryan. He's an amazing man, and I have so much fun with him. His sense of humor is unparalleled. Just want to put that out there.
Good egg.
He's a good egg. Yes. And but he can't eat peanut butter, which sucks because, I love peanut butter. Who doesn't love a peanut butter and jelly?
I don't like
Fast.
jelly.
Oh my God. What's wrong with you?
Finish that sentence, Mariela. Stop yourself.
What the
Um,
crackers? No, I'll say what the French toast sticks is what I say in front of the kids.
my favorite is your cheese and crackers. That's my
Oh
favorite
my
one to say.
God. Well, listen, when someone's hungry real fast in my house, I always have peanut butter, I always have jelly, and I feed them.
It's
My
cheap too.
favorite, yeah, and it's inexpensive, and you can
Yep.
buy a big jar and it lasts a long time.
Yep.
But I gotta tell you, I'm the queen of oatmeal. I know you're not an oatmeal fan, but if you make oatmeal with water, let's say like a cup to, it's like a 2-to-1 ratio. So 1 cup of oats to 2 cups of water. Generally, I make less, but when it's done heating, you add a fat spoonful of peanut butter to it and a splash of cream and a little bit of sweetener. It will be the most earth-shattering oatmeal you've ever had. Delicious. Delicious. If Ryan didn't have life-threatening diseases around peanuts, I will tell you to make
He
it.
doesn't have to be around. He doesn't make it.
Yeah, but I feel like he's gonna smell it and then break out into some weird like anaphylaxis. What is it? Is it anaphylaxis? Did I say that?
Anaphylaxis. That's what it is. Stick to food. So,
I'm a
um,
doctor.
so, farthest
Listen,
thing. So, anyway,
listen. My other favorite way to use peanuts is to boil spaghetti, right? Regular spaghetti, and then I'll make a sauce with a fat spoonful or maybe like a cup of peanut butter. I'll add soy sauce and brown sugar and a little bit of sesame oil and whisk it up. Maybe add a little water to thin it out. Heat it up. Throw it on top of the noodles. Maybe a little broccoli. So good.
the brown sugar doesn't make it too sweet.
No, like I don't know. My kids like it sweet, so we
Gotcha.
make it that way. And my husband does too. I think it's super yummy. And then I'll add it to cookies or any baked goods. And like you said, what do you if you could eat peanut butter, what would you do with
Okay.
it,
If I
Eric?
was allowed to eat peanut butter again, I'm going to tell everybody the fat kid trick to eating peanut butter, besides just eating it with a spoon. So if you take peanut butter and just melt it, like put it like in a
Hmm.
bowl or whatever, just melt it a little bit, like not too crazy, don't let it boil, but just melt it a bit and then pour it over your ice cream, Marietta.
Delicious.
Delicious. It is so good.
All right, so we're gonna talk about also pasta, right? What isn't everyone knows that pasta is super versatile. You can buy a jar of sauce, you can make sauce, you can keep spaghetti, short grain pasta, anything really. You can make a meal out of spaghetti, garlic, and olive oil
Yeah.
if you're in a pinch. These are definite pantry staple. Another thing I always keep is bread. Do you keep bread usually?
No. Well, yeah. Okay. So yes and no. I don't keep like sliced bread in my home, but like every time I go to a grocery store, baguettes or
Mm,
loaf of French bread or something like that. So I do keep bread, but
hmm
it's not like sliced bread. I don't keep
I
bread.
make bread, and one day I'm gonna venture you out. I know you haven't done this. One day I'm gonna get your fingers in that dough, and you're gonna be so excited because it's so
I do.
easy.
I would love to buy a bread maker, but I can't justify
You
it.
don't need a bread maker. You have an
No,
oven
I know you don't, but I
and you
just
have a
can't.
Dutch oven. You don't need a bread maker. You don't need a thing. Stop it. What else does a bread maker do but make bread, Eric? This is against the law of our monotasking stuff.
No,
Not
I know
allowed.
it is, but I'm not going to hear you complaining if you woke up to my home and fresh baked bread that
I'm
we
not
put on
gonna
the
wake up to fresh
floor.
baked bread.
You're definitely
Let's
not.
be real.
You're lucky you get coffee when you
I
wake
know.
up. You have to make it
Please.
yourself too.
Please. I don't get that good treatment. That's for the other guests, not for me. I don't get that.
That's for the guests that don't know me yet.
Exactly. That's when you're trying to woo. I know. I've been wooed. I'm in
That was
already.
like 30 years ago. So you definitely don't get wooed anymore. But bread, what I like about bread, um, is when it goes stale, you can still do things with it.
Yes, you can
You
make
can
a
like pulverize
crouton.
it, make croutons, chop it up, throw some olive oil on it, throw some salt, pepper, paprika,
Mm, on everything.
and paprika on everything, and put it in the oven, get it all crispy, and you have croutons. And you're not throwing away your old bread,
Hmm.
you're preserving it, and it tastes so much better than when you buy it in a package at a grocery store.
Yeah,
So
like
much
fresh
better.
croutons are highly underrated
Yeah.
and easy and inexpensive. You could also make breadcrumbs with your old bread. Old bread is like, man, it's a gold mine, really. And when you buy breadcrumbs in the street, on the street corner,
Where did that come from? Like, where you
I don't know, but it sounded really like malicious, like when you buy breadcrumbs on the street, like it fell off a truck or something.
like black market breadcrumbs.
Oh, yeah, they're like $3, and you can save money that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can always
But
freeze them
again,
too.
you can, when it comes to breadcrumbs or when it comes to croutons or things like that, you can adjust the seasoning yourself. You can adjust the salt content to yourself. If there's any type of dietary restrictions or things like that, you can adjust it. And I think some things when it comes to, and I mean, I'm not a health nut, but I think when it comes to like foods that are prepackaged at home, like I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody else thinks like, what do they have to put in here to make this item last, 18
Six,
months on my shelf?
exactly.
Like, what is in here to do that? Food's not meant to last that long, by the way.
And you can also use your old bread to cook with. We can make bread pudding, make a custard. We can make French toast. Same idea, really, except French toast is like bread pudding, only you make it one at a time. Isn't that a revelation in your mind right now?
Yeah.
Think about this. I have never thought about this before. Bread
I'm not a
pudding
big
is just like a
French toast
casserole.
person.
Oh my God, what are you big on, Eric? And nothing you're big on.
You
I
made
don't
me French toast
understand.
once, years and years and years ago.
With
Well, you use panettone. We
oh,
get to that as we get closer to the holidays. But you made panettone French toast once, and that is the only French toast to this day that was amazing.
and that was like 17 years ago at least.
It was like New Year's Day of like 2003. So like it was a long time ago.
Oh, but that is good. The chocolate panettone is the only panettone worth eating.
Yeah.
I will die on that hill.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And you made that and we used Nutella on it and it was like
All right, we're fantasizing. Okay, next we have oats, right? I keep oats. You don't keep oats.
no, I'm not an oat person. I'm not that old.
Lord. Oh, okay.
No,
I see.
I've never
Well,
I've never just been an oat person. I mean, so first of all, I'm not a huge breakfast person. That's bad on my part, but I'm not. I mean, you
I
you
don't
see
either, honestly. I just like toast and coffee, but people in my house eat breakfast, so I got to feed them.
Right. What do
So
you like
that's
to do
where it
with
comes from.
toast? Tell me what you like to do. Because like I said, I'm not an oat person.
Okay, so lately I have been eating oats in this fashion. I will get a pan and I'll put coconut oil in it, like a tablespoon. I'll add the raw oats and I'll toast it. I'll add a bit of brown sugar or whatever sweetener you like, and then you make it nice and toasty. And then you add raisins or nuts afterward, and you put milk in it, and it's like a cereal you just made at your house. And it is so good.
Oh, dried cranberries.
Yes, I do dried cranberries, whatever I have, I tried coconut, like flaked coconut. It was delicious, and I have been craving this, and so has my husband. My kids, not so much,
I don't
but
blame
oh,
them. It's
they
my
took
thing.
after their Uncle Keith,
They did. At least in the oatmeal factor, they did.
drinking the oatmeal haterade. I think it's delicious. Okay, and also you can add your oats to baked goods. You can use it like a streusel if you add butter and
Listen,
brown sugar, and that's delicious. I've never heard you complain about butter and brown sugar.
I'm never gonna complain about butter and brown sugar.
So a streusel topping.
I'm going to I'm gonna revive your faith in me because
Yeah.
it's not a popular opinion, but I think oatmeal raisin cookies are one of the best cookies. It's not my favorite, but it is like on the top of
On the
my
top of which list? Like the list
of
of
the cookie
the
list,
worst
meaning
cookies
the
ever made?
hierarchy. The worst cookie. It's,
No. I like
no,
a
okay.
chocolate chip oatmeal cookie.
Okay, well, you just stole my thunder because I was just about to say that I love chocolate chip oatmeal cookies also, but oatmeal raisin cookies are a really underrated cookie, and you can make really delicious like oatmeal raisin sandwich cookies, like a buttercream frosting in the middle, and make like oatmeal sandwich cookies.
I've never had this before.
All right, we'll have it one day.
Are you gonna make it?
Yeah, I'll make it.
This is in like writing or something. What is it? That there's proof?
It's going to be posted on the internet, so it's forever engraved on the interwebs of the world that I will make you these cookies. They're real. They're so yeah. I will say oatmeal cookies are really good, and I'm gonna stick to that.
Okay, you're gonna die on that hill. That'll be your
But
hill to die on today. We're gonna
yeah,
die on hills.
you can die on your oatmeal cereal, and I'm gonna go ahead and although I will say the oatmeal cereal that does sound pretty good.
I will make it for you one day when I
We'll go
visit.
buy oats, and then we'll make both things.
So, okay, I want to try these oatmeal cookies one day. You please make them for me with your buttercream frosting, which I want to hear a lot about.
We're gonna get to it
Speaking,
because we're gonna
yes.
get to baking eventually.
So, speaking about sweet, delicious things, I was gonna honorable mention honey, but I feel like, do you use honey a lot?
No, so I do. I mean, all right, let's talk about the one benefit of honey. It theoretically never goes bad. So,
Yeah,
but we can get into that in another episode. Um, I don't really use. Okay, there's a jar of honey in my cabinet, but I don't
right.
really use it. Like I said, I have one recipe that I do use honey for, but that's saved for an entertainment episode that I do use in a recipe when I
Mm,
entertain.
my
So
favorite recipe that you
it's
do.
a good one. So no, honey I don't use often at all.
Me neither. I use brown sugar as a pantry staple for savory items way more than honey. I know a lot of people like, I watch Bobby Flay and he puts honey in like his mustard. He puts honey on his daughter. I don't know. He puts honey on everything.
Okay, you know what though? I make a really great honey mustard. And again,
You
we'll talk.
used to bathe in honey mustard.
I
You
love
were
honey mustard on
27% honey mustard.
everything. Okay, like my body was built of honey mustard. Okay, but it's but yeah, we could talk about that also. And there are some good recipes you could do with honey, like when you do like honey chicken and things like that, glaze a ham with it.
Yeah.
So it's not something that I'm not glazing hams every day.
No?
So shockingly,
That
um,
was your name in high school.
ham bone. It was
Uh,
not, but that was your name for me. But anyway, I was but
anyway, okay.
but yeah, so you can use honey for certain things, but it's not
Oh, you know what honey's good for?
what.
Like making your own dressing. You can put
Yeah,
honey. Okay,
yeah.
so okay, it has uses,
There's a lot of
but
medicinal reasons for honey too.
I
You
mean,
know,
we're doctors too. I think today we're doctors.
doctors and cooks. But we can but again, that's when we go to later. But no, honey's not like an everyday staple for me.
No, but brown sugar for me is.
Yeah,
I
brown sugar
highly
has.
recommend it. Okay. All right. So I think those are our basics. Do you want to recap or you want me to recap?
Well, I'll recap.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, with brown sugar,
Mm.
put brown sugar in your coffee.
What? I've
Yeah,
tried it in bubble tea before, but never in coffee.
yeah. Do brown sugar in your coffee in the morning.
Hmm.
Done. It's
Okay.
amazing.
I'm gonna try that tomorrow.
So just to recap, so the some of our pantry staples: rice, black beans, canned veggies, peanut butter, pasta, bread, and oats.
And you forgot
So
garbanzos because I know you don't like them, but I'm gonna say them. I'm gonna say their name loud. Garbanzos, chickpeas.
be as loud and proud as you want with your garbanzo chickpeas. They're good.
Ah.
When you can't get your hands on them,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Did you say pasta and bread?
I did.
And oats? Did you say oats?
I'm literally reading off a list. Yeah. It's, it's,
I
I,
don't recall. My memory is crap. My kids sucked it out of my breast when they were feeding.
that's a you problem.
That is a me problem. Okay, so these are the things you need in addition to remember our other episodes. If you haven't heard, you need to go back to episode 3 to learn about spices and flavor agents. Go back to episode 2 to learn about fats so that we can build your kitchen together. Because next episode, we are going to be doing a recipe, maybe more than one recipe. We're going to be talking about how to integrate these things we've been covering into a meal that you can eat and serve. And I'm
Yep.
so excited about this because I mean, we haven't talked about really like a concrete recipe yet, and it needs to happen.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to drop us a line at our email address or to join us on our very vacant Instagram feed, which will be coming up with stuff very soon. You can find us at Food FAQ Podcast,
Yeah.
I want to say, and our email address is foodfaqpod@gmail.com. We want to hear about everything. We want to hear if you're trying stuff, what you think about what we're saying, and what else,
Ask
Keith?
questions. I can ask questions. Put
Yeah,
us.
ask me a question.
Yeah.
Anything you want.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. I like it. How
Eric
tall is
is,
Mariela? I like
how
it.
tall is Mariela? It's like that can of beans, or when like people have those contests where you have to guess how many things are inside the jar. We should do that.
Yeah, we can. I'll start at 3 foot. All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye bye.